1 2 1 2. Okay, all right. Just it's your guy T Strong, better known as Coach, and Dean to some of those who know me. But we're back again. The best seat on the bench, brought to you by the recruits, and we call it the best seat on the bench. Why? Because it's built for those coaches. The coach that sits on the bench, and that's why I call it the best seat. We're not spectators. We're not announcers. We don't keep the score. We definitely ain't blowing the whistle with the zebra suit on. So just wanted to let you know that the coaches have the best seat on the bench, and this is what we talk about. We're back again, and I want to introduce one of my co-hosts for tonight's show, and that is someone very near and dear to my heart. I'm going to introduce my little brother, Sean Strong, better known as OC.
Hello. Welcome back. I tried to be quiet.
No. It's good to be here, man. And you and I have been chit-chatting a little bit from time to time about all these different topics. And I've been nipping at the chops to try to get back the show going, and decided to do a little bit different this time. We're not going to do the big, long, drawn-out 45-minute shows. We're going to break it up and do 10, 12 minutes and just talk about particular topics and then move on to our next one, okay? But today, this particular topic here is one that's very interesting. I gotta describe it and explain kind of how it's set up. It's the topic says when you're arguing being right from the players. And what I mean by that is, as coaches know, you're going to get into those discussions with kids from time to time, your players, and you know that they're wrong. You know that they're out of place, they're out of pocket in what they're trying to say. Yet this new gen, they keep arguing and arguing and arguing. That's one point of view. Then you have the other player that when you're trying to get on them, trying to coach them up, they just stand there with that dumb goat look on their face and say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. But they're not hearing, and they're not going to change anything that they have going on. So from your point of view, Sean, OC, can you tell me, if you're a coach, and you have a player that you're trying to coach them, trying to discuss something to them based on certain scenarios in a game, yet they want to argue with you about what took place.
Okay, so first and foremost, we have to understand the game within itself. Arguing about situations doesn't prove results. Let's get to the facts. The fact is that if you continue to argue with your coach, you're not absorbing knowledge. Let's continue to absorb knowledge. He's the head coach for a reason. And if you're the point guard and you're supposed to be the facilitator and you're supposed to be the leader on the floor, and you're not listening to the plays or the direction by your head coach, and you're continuously arguing, then where is that leading the team? It is a team sport, people. Basketball, football, hockey, badminton, you name it. At the end of the day, while you're doing this, the other team is continuously putting the ball in the basket. So let's stop with, and I'm going to control myself, stop with the BS, okay? Let's stop with the BS. Let's absorb knowledge. Let's go ahead and listen to your coach, and let's win the game, okay? Because at the end of the day, to me, while you arguing or not really listening to your coach,
discussing, they discussing.
Yeah, you discuss it. You're upset. Your coach's upset. The main goal is not being accomplished. So let's get to the main goal. Let's go ahead and put the ball in the basket, so forth and so on, and let's move forward to win the game. Because your arguing has not progressed any type of positive results.
Correct. And listen, and you hit it smack there in the head, because I always say when your mouth is moving, your ears aren't working.
There it is.
And I'm gonna give you a prime example. I have multiple examples that I have, because I'm a fiery coach. I'm somewhat of a up in your face type of coach, and in this new generation, they feel like because this is what they do in their household, and they can do this bantering back and forth with their parents, that it's okay. And I had a prime example for that. Our record this year was we were 17-8, so we had what we would call a good season. But we lost the games that really mattered. There was about 6 of those 8 games that we lost. And guess what? Those games really, really mattered in aspects of what it looked like in the future for the team, as far as ranking, as far as district seeding, all kind of stuff like that. Well, we're in a game, and we're up 2 points with about, about 45, 50 seconds left on the clock. Or I think it might have been a little bit more than that or whatever. And we have the momentum. and we went down. Mr. Layup went down. Luckily, got a steal. So now we're coming back down the court. Well, I call timeout. Get into the timeout. I call one of my out of bounds plays that we look to score off of. But it's one of those situations where if we cannot score, then guess what? The ball then comes out to the point guard. But we want to look to score in that situation, which we talked about in the timeout. Everyone seemed to be on the same page. So we're myself, the coaching staff, the other players looking like they're ready. We understand we're up 2 points, but this gives an opportunity to go up by 4, get fouled, and then shoot free throws, and now we're up 5 points with the momentum. And that was the difference. Well, we go out, set up the out of bounds, the sideline play or whatever, and then the point guard is supposed to pop out, get the basketball, push hard to the left-hand side, ball goes to the inbounder all the way on the other side of the court. He gets the ball on a pick and roll and is able to go to the basket, which we've scored throughout the season probably 75% of the time out of this play. Okay? So I'm looking at that as a coach. Well, the ball comes in bounds to the point guard, and then this knucklehead decides he wants to just stall the ball. So he's up there. Now we're starting to get close to a 5-second count. Well, then he has to pass the ball off, goes to pass the ball. Guess what happens? They steal the ball. We going down, then we follow. Luckily, luckily, we were not shooting, wasn't shooting a foul, anything like that. So at that point in time, now we're able to now talk about it. So I'm getting on the player about him not following through with what was going on. He's arguing back and forth with me. So at that point in time, that's a no-no. Now you got to come out the game, then you got to go sit down. Well, his backup is a 10th grader. He's a senior. So now we come in with the 10th grader. He goes out there. Guess what? Then we get scored on. So now the score is tied. Yeah. At that point in time, being right there. And he's my point guard. Floyd General, he's been there all year long. He doesn't turn the ball over. Now the ball gets into this sophomore point guard's hand, and then he's trying to push the ball to the floor because now we're tied. He throws an errant pass. They steal the ball, go down, and they get fouled. Now they make the free throws. We lose the game. I go to the locker room and I tell the whole team, and I say, you know what? You lost this game for us. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. So then when I went through the whole scenario, number one, we had the momentum. If you had ran the offense like I said we would have, even if we didn't score, I had a 6'10" kid on the court who now could probably get the rebound or get a putback when they didn't have any height to stop him. And if we didn't have a good shot, the ball then would go back to you as the point guard who doesn't turn the ball over. But instead, because you're arguing with me, you had to come out the game. Now there's a sophomore point guard, and then we putting him in a situation that he doesn't have the book bag or the experience to handle, and we end up losing that ball game because you, as a point guard, did not follow directions, because you wanted to argue, and because now you're not my quarterback on the court.
And let me piggyback off that just really quickly. You have to look at the big picture. His mentality about arguing with his high school coach, if he earns a scholarship and gets that 4-year, what he considers a 4-year deal, every scholarship, full athletic scholarship, is 1 year. A head coach or the athletic director can choose to bring you on that next year. So if he comes in as a freshman being argumentative and arguing with his head coach, how do you think that's going to How do you think that's going to pan out for him?
Oh, I can tell you, it's called a bus pass. And then I tell my kids all the time, they don't put you on the plane when they're getting rid of you. They put you on the bus. And if you're that far north, they might put you on the train. You know, and that's the gist of it. They call it, and then they don't even call you peoples. They just tell the manager and everything, go back to the apartment or dorms, clean the stuff out, put it in front of the door, and there's a ticket sitting on there, and then you got to find your way to the bus. That's how it's done nowadays. They have no clue that is what's going on. You know,
yeah. So
you're arguing, like you said, if you're arguing with your head coach in high school, what you think you're gonna do in college when you out there with all the other pressures that go on being out there all by yourself?
Yeah, and you're gonna argue with the head coach in college? Okay. And head coach in college, they don't even speak to you. It's the RA, the resident assistant that literally kicks you out. You come in and they have your ticket and everything. As long as your dorm is cleared up, all that arguing is not necessary. Focus on the matter at hand.
And like you said, we go back to the old cliche. You never know who's watching you. So anybody in the stands could have an opportunity to call somebody and say, hey, I got a kid over here that you might want to look at. Or a coach could be sitting there looking at somebody else, and then they see you, and they're like, oh, okay, that's definitely not what we want to look at from there. So you're always auditioning, always. So even if you don't like what the coach is saying, you still got to adhere to what his belief is. And the thing about it was, my experience of 20-something years knew that we could win that ball game with him on the court, with him making the right decision based on what my instructions, not going rogue and going to do your own thing.
So was his leadership put to the forefront off of arguing? Was his leadership winning the basketball game? I think winning the basketball game shows a little bit more of stature and charismatic attitude on how he would have been as the point guard of a 17 and 18, which I think is a very great season.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about wins and losses, and there's wins inside of losses, or wins inside of wins, losses inside of wins. And that right there was a lose-lose situation. Totally lost it. Did not get it figured out, and we lost to a subpar team, and that hurt us in our rankings when it got time to go to the district tournament, which means we end up playing against a mid-level team rather than one of the lower-level teams. And guess what? We end up getting knocked out in that situation. So, but yeah. But you know what? For the best seat on the bench, man, I tell you what, I don't think we can go too much further with that part of it. But I know for a fact there's a lot of coaches that have had these situations, and I hope this kind of helps a little bit to just kind of give you a little tidbits about what we got going on. You know, from the best seat on the bench, brought to you by Recruits. Hey, make sure you go out there and like us, and that way you can keep following us. And on to the next time, OC, best seat on the bench, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, 3.